VC, angel investing, venture capital, angel investing, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
What's your shtick?
So I saw that someone had asked the question around my views on VC or angel investing and why other people in our industry won't talk
I'll
about
read it. Instagram Ren_Shorty. What made her invest into VC? It doesn't seem as common with other finfluencers.
It's a really good question. I find that when I first started investing, of course, it started off with like retail investing. So people like you and me that go, hey, I'd like to invest in company A. It's a public company. Okay, I'll buy some shares. Cool. I want to invest in an index fund filled with lots of different companies. I can buy it online, done. And then during, it was around the year 2002, when I was 7. It was in the year of 2020 when I figured out that, hey, there's these IPOs that keep happening, but I want to make money before the IPO. Like, how do the people get in beforehand? And so that led me on an investigative journey. And in New Zealand, we had 2 venture firms, Icehouse Ventures and Blackbird and a couple of others. And my friend who was a doctor quit her job as a doctor and joined this company called Blackbird. And Blackbird was the company that had invested in Canva. And
they're Aussie, aren't they?
Canva and Blackbird, yeah. So Blackbird is a Australian company, and they had a satellite office in New Zealand, and that's where my friend joined. And it was very, very cool. And I remember once her company invited everyone to have like a dinner and bring your spouse, and her husband was busy. He's also a doctor. So I was her step-in spouse. And so I went to their Sam Wong, who is one of the former partners at Blackbird, went to her home and I met everyone. And it was just this whole new world. And
Aladdin, if you will.
Yeah, quite literally. And, I remember meeting this guy and I was like, where did you work before this? And he was like, I worked at Uber. And I was like, how did you get a job at Uber? He said he applied. I also then met this Geo at Icehouse Ventures. And I think initially I got involved in this world because maybe they thought that I would be someone that they would want to invest into the future, not with friends that invest because it's not really a venture capital company, but they were kind of keeping tabs on me and I was keeping tabs on them.
They got a sniff of your cash.
I don't think they even realized I had any. I was the one that was like, hey, how you guys like invest in companies like Canva? I want to get into that. How do I? And so I went on their website and you could invest and you had to be an accredited investor. And I realized I fit the bill, which you have to have a certain level of wealth or a certain income. And so I spoke with my accountant and he said, yep, you have the requirements. And so I bought my first bit into venture investing and it makes up a small part of my portfolio. So, some people invest hundreds of thousands, even millions. But you can start with, some of these companies allow you to invest with $60,000, $80,000, $50,000. So the check sizes are different.
Mm-hmm. And so your shtick is you wanted to be involved in that personally and you still do that?
Yes. I found that I have a theory that most of my wealth is going to be slowly built over time with my long-term index fund investments. I also believe that in a way of activism, by investing in venture capital and angel investing, I can choose to help grow the next generation of companies by providing them capital, and I can choose companies that really align with my values. So there's a much higher risk involved, and I have the expectation that some of these, if not most of these, will probably go to zero. But it's saying, hey, there's all this new cutting edge technology. Like one of the companies in Europe that I saw was that, is this TMI? Probably not. Instead of taking like a blood test from a woman, you could take a strip off a pad, like a menstrual pad, these special menstrual pads, and that test can then be used as a blood test. And so you don't have to like draw blood. And apparently menstrual blood gives you more data and you can check for more things. And so this biotech startup came out from that. And that would not have existed if you didn't have diverse founders and investors going, hey, we'll give you some money to help you figure this out.
Yeah, I think to the question why more influencers don't talk about it, I think one, they personally don't do it. Like you personally do this stuff. Part of your life, you talk about it. I personally do it, but I don't really talk about it because it's, for me, and I think broadly, you said debatable, I think we agree more with what we agree on than what we don't. So there's that.
The Venn diagram has more overlap.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I just think for the garden variety person out there who's just getting started with investing, there's no way you would want to really do that with, like if you want to go, everyone, and have a listen to the Friends That Invest podcast that I'm a guest on, we actually talked about Kaur and satellite and all that stuff. So we'll take this comment as read, but you'd really want to keep it to less than 10% of your portfolio, I think. And most people's portfolios, that portion of, say, 10% wouldn't be enough to knock on the door anyway. And if someone did have 60 grand spare to throw into something or get the wholesale certificate, it's probably a huge amount of their worth, even if they did dodgily get in there somehow. Like I think the reason for me is when I've done the stuff, you basically say goodbye to all your consumer protections in Australia.
Yes.
So there's like no safety net. I did this startup once. It was so crazy, right? And I'm all for investing. I love it. I've got different VCs and I'll get in and do all that. But I know, I was looking at one the other day, their annual statement. I was going through, I'm like, all right, well, this is all BS. I don't think it was ever worth $10 million, but here we are, whatever.
It's all paper value. It's all
you're buying
fairy
the
money.
idea.
You're buying the idea.
Yeah, and for most people, pay off your house or invest in your super and get on with your life.
Yeah.
So I invested in one of the ways, and I've shared this on the show, but I'll redo it for the who haven't heard it. I put 25 grand in and I purchased a convertible note, okay? Now, for those who are unaware, a convertible note is basically I pay a company $25,000 and they give me a note that says on this date, this note will convert into shares in the entity or convert to shares in the pre-IPO and all that stuff. At that time, we're going to pay for your $25,000 10% interest payable when we list, when it converts, for every month or every 6 month quarter or whatever it was, I forget the details, that we don't list after 12 months, your loan goes to 20%.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm like, yep, I think they've got something going on here. I put 25 grand in. Now, granted, hugely speculative, hugely risky. If I did lose that 25,000, my life isn't flushed. Mm-hmm. Not putting $2 million in there, not putting 100,000, so that's that. A year went on, issues with the float, issues, blah, blah, blah. So what ended up happening was the company said, okay, we're not floating. The convertible notes, you've got an option. You can get your $25,000 back or your initial capital with no interest payment and you walk away, or we will take your $25,000, not pay interest, and you can have a share in a company, so the note will convert, that will never trade. So it was a poison pill.
Oh, wow.
So what do you get? Yeah, give me my 25 grand and walk away.
And never touch it again.
So I forgo maybe 18 months of any type of return on that 25 grand. Mm. Got the capital back, the convertible note. So for most people, this type of stuff is unfortunately and sadly for the top end of town, But it's also good that it is kind of for the top end of town because of the lack of consumer protections. And I can guarantee most people's superannuation in Australia, your big super funds have investments in projects because, if you're Blackbird and you need cash, where are you going? The $1 trillion, $3 trillion super industry in Australia, all these big super funds put seeds into Canva and back in the day, like your eBays and all that stuff. So we inherently have exposure to this stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
But I just think, most influencers don't talk about it because they don't do it themselves. You do it and you talk about it.
I initially wasn't planning to speak on it. It kind of like came up where I'd be like, today I'm at this event, or today I've spoken here or invested in this, and I just noticed that there was more intrigue than I'd realized, where people would go, oh, this is really interesting. I've never heard someone speak about angel investing or venture investing or private equity. And it's kind of that idea of the same way that retail investing felt so far away and so like only those that know. I found that there was that same, and there still definitely is that same barrier to entry where even those that are sophisticated investors, so that's when I say sophisticated, I don't mean like someone that like holds a champagne flute. It's another word for like wholesale or
so in
accredited.
Australia, I think you've got to prove that your income's over 500 or you've got 2 million of assets or something like that.
Yeah.
I forget the actual thing.
It's like around like 250 or 500 in income and then 2.5 million assets.
Yeah. So very similar.
Yes.
New Zealand, yeah.
And the idea behind it is you should have enough that if it all goes to zero, you have a buffer and the government can't be liable for it all going down. But yeah, that's why I speak on it. And I speak about how it makes up a very small portion of my portfolio. And I sometimes joke that it is gifting money, as in I'm gifting it to these companies because I just don't know if there will be a return. But I enjoy the idea of supporting diverse founders that maybe don't have access to capital but have a really great idea and they aren't getting that money from other places. But do I expect that this is the thing that retires me and gets me on a boat sailing through Croatia? Without a doubt, no.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you're putting, if you do everything in proportion and you're putting a small percentage of your portfolio in these venture things, for every unicorn that, 1,000 times, there's probably 10,000 ponies and dogs that just don't go anywhere.
I'm speaking at South by Southwest on the returns of angel investing, and that's exactly what the data says. Like they looked at 1,200 angel exits across a 15-year period in the US and the UK. More than 50% of those exits gave a negative return. So if you gave them $10,000, you would get back less than $10,000.
Yeah, all kind of like my convertible note.
Yes.
Capital but no return, or maybe they would say, look, we've got 20 grand, take it, or you can have your notes in a company that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Pick one.
More than 50%.
Yeah.
And so if someone said, hey, do you want to invest in an index fund and there's a more than 50% chance that you'll end up with less money, you're not going to run to that. Then they said that about less than 10% returned more than a 10x, and then less than 5% returned more than a 30x. Yes, there were some that had a 30x. That's incredible, but they make up such a small portion. And the math behind it is that they hope these outliers will make up for the losses that you make as you spread your risk.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a fund. If you did want to kind of get in on this, and this is clearly not advice, and I actually haven't looked at it for a while, but there was a fund that has done very decently. Let me just see. I'm doing this in real time, everyone. The MLC Private Equity Fund. So it's basically a managed fund that you buy into. I don't mind that as a way in because you're getting exposure.
MLC Private Equity Fund.
Yeah, so the MLC Global Private Equity Fund is available for investment by Australian residents only and not for residents of other jurisdictions. The information, blah, blah, blah. So, for example, the minimum buy-in is $20,000 for Class A. The Class B is 250K. And all of this stuff is like, once you commit your money, call liquidity zero. Call it frozen for maybe 5 years or more. Actually, this is a different fund. This started in 2020. It must have replaced another fund. But the thing, let's have a look at
a private equity fund or a VC fund?
This is a global private equity fund. I'm just having a look and see if we can see returns here. The thing is, it's one category, like with funds like this, right, where past performance is an indication of future performance, because their track record of picking winners is there. And once they get to scale, different VC companies know where to go and give people the first bite of the cherry.
Yes.
So that's why sometimes this is one of the asset classes where past performance is an indication of future.
It's also why, like, if you were speaking to a finance pro and you mention Sequoia, everyone will know who Sequoia is, because they are a VC firm based in Silicon Valley, and they have been consistently investing in all the big companies that we like know and love today, like the Ubers, the Airbnbs, the Facebooks of the world. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Then everyone that wants to start something goes to them, and so it just becomes like a monopoly of
it just keeps on. Yep. But yeah, so these are like, I would say if you do want to scratch the itch, some type of fund like this, where you're putting the money into a fund and not an individual illiquid company that someone's started. And I don't know, but I get your edge of the coin with, you like the story, the inclusion of giving new founders money. I don't know.
I also didn't start off with individual companies. Putting money in just the same way that I like to think of index funds, putting your money into a venture fund means that your, $10,000 or $80,000 or whatever it is, gets spread across many different startups, as opposed to just one.
100%.
If I could, I don't completely trust that I can guess the exact best startup at a pre-revenue stage. That is insanity.
Yeah. But anyway, like it's, you do something different, you get a different result. And I would say for most people, you've already got exposure in your retirement savings. So, yeah, not much of a debate.
That was not a debate at all. I feel like I caved instantly. You were like, that's not that good. And I was like, actually, you're right.
No, like, okay, so like we're both going to South by this week. I put on LinkedIn, hey, anyone want to do podcast? I had every VC company in the world, well, not really, one person, who's like, do you want to do an episode on VC and private equity? I'm like,
no,
not really. Like I've just got a responsibility, I think. Even I didn't like mentioning this as an example because people might see it and go and invest in it. Or I think I've got a responsibility. Like, so for example, now people who want to advertise on our show, it costs me so much money doing this, and it's annoying because I like money. Oh, we want to advertise on the show. My first question, how much are you going to pay me? No. The first question is, how long has your company been in operation?
Yeah. You taught me this.
Yeah. If your business has not been around for 3 years, I can't take money from you and advertising your product. Even if it is the most benign vanilla ice, probably would for vanilla ice cream, but like we had one the other day, it was an online will program or something.
Okay.
I'm like, it's harmless and all that. You've been around 10 minutes? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing it.
I have something similar. I have the would I recommend this to my mum test. Yeah. And it's, is this an investment that I would want my mum to go, okay, Simran has said this, let me put my money into it. If the answer is no, then it's a very easy way for me to think about it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.